Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. So this video is gonna be kind of a collab extension part three. Um, I'll link a Drop of Melancholy's video in the description so you can know what I'm talking about. Watch his channel. Man's absolutely jacked and intelligent, very entertaining. Please, if you haven't subscribed to him yet, go watch his stuff. I left a comment on one of his recent videos. I think it was titled Life as a Test. And it basically came from you know, uh, God created the universe to test us type of sentiment, right? That dumbass kind of sentiment. And I pretty much left a comment explaining that the one thing that these dumbass NPC Christians don't seem to realize when they say life is a test, that means God is a teacher. But if we understand that teachers are, they work in a school or a classroom or whatever, they work under somebody. A teacher isn't also going to be the principal or the janitor or the lunch lady, right? They have certain objectives they have to meet, the teacher, not even the students. And even if you say that, you know, the, this is where there's this very obnoxious type of sentiment that comes around where people now believe that exceptions are the rule, right? Generally, students are not going to be very hard to teach. Yes, teenagers can be insufferable, kids can be insufferable, but every single school is not going to be like how do I say? The schools that end up taking all the kids that have been like expelled multiple times, they're like rowdy and everything. Yes, there are schools like that. Most of them aren't. Like they literally aren't, right? You can say the education system is shit or whatever, but I digress, right? A teacher is supposed to teach their students the right, uh, can I call it content? Objectives, requirements. They're supposed to teach them a set amount of requirements or targets. And they're supposed to do it unambiguously. Your teacher is supposed to teach you that 1 plus 1 equals 2. They're not supposed to teach you that 1 plus 1 equals 3, but also means 2, but also means 1 when you want it to be like the fucking Trinity doctrine, right? They're supposed to do this unambiguously so that you as a teacher can even say, but I walk through them and I get it, even just look at the average teacher. It takes a lot of time per student to make sure that they all understand what's going on, right? It takes very, very specialized care to every single student, to every single situation. Yes, you're teaching them all the same thing, but they're not all going to understand it the same way, and that's fine. But ultimately, how those students uh, achieve in that test will ultimately always reflect back on the teacher. I remember in my undergrad, there were units that people were just known to fail. Like you just know you're going to fail them. And like one of the lecturers was stupid enough to be like, yeah, this subject has a really low pass rate, and he was proud about it. And I'm like, what kind of a piece of shit actually are you? The content is hard, yes. There's a number of reasons why it has such a fail rate. But at the same time, why would you, as a teacher, as a lecturer, be proud that your class is hard to pass, right? Seriously, would you not want the most amount of students to pass and to pass well? This is just in human terms that we're talking about. Don't even factor in the omnipotent, omniscient. Oh, I'm gonna plug another channel. He's called Black Atheist Rants. He is so funny. He's so damn funny. He says the omniscient, the omnipotent, omnitrix, all the omnis, right? And you mean to tell me that even in that fucking Bible, it says that most people are going to end up burning in hell at the end of it. But life is a test. That life is a test that you didn't even get to pick the tools or the information or your genetics to even be able to do that test. And how long is it until you realize it's a test, right? And it actually gets me into what I really wanted to talk about today is that Christians spread hell and the apocalypse everywhere they fucking touched. Everywhere the Christian doctrine touched, hell and the apocalypse followed. Everywhere that you can say Abrahamic, but particularly Christianity, because Islam came afterwards and it was localized to the particular Middle Eastern patch of land where it emerged, but they pretty much plagiarized like a whole lot of Christianity. Christians, and that's the nefarious and insidious part about this religion. They spread hell and the apocalypse to places that had never heard of those two concepts. Maybe they had some concept of a hell or the underworld or something, perhaps, right? Maybe they had some sort of, not necessarily apocalypse, right? You understand what I mean when I say these words because you've grown up hearing exactly, you've probably grown up in church as well. You understand what I mean when I say hell and the apocalypse. These are two very specific words. And other places had their own versions or didn't have them at all. Regardless, this is supposed to be the most benevolent, the most awe-inspiring ideology that's ever existed in human history. And yet somehow they spread the ideology of eternal torture, uh, um, bloodthirsty, like cataclysmic, end of the world type horrors. Oh, and they also spread the ideology of generational curses, right? Generational curses. And to me, those three aspects are just completely irredeemable. The only reason Christianity and all these other Abrahamic religions, heck, all the other major religions have survived. Okay, let me just talk about like Christianity and Islam. The only reason they're as pervasive as they are is because of military and empire, imperialism and empire and indoctrination and fear, savagery. Those are the only reason these two ideologies have survived. And even if you read these books, you can see the savagery in them because it was written by people who didn't understand why they'd have like 10 kids and 4 of them would die, right? Or of like of dysentery, but they didn't even know what dysentery was, right? It was written by people who they were not informed. And I can't say they didn't know much. They knew what they could know at that time. We only know what we know at this time. But most people aren't informed right now. Let's say for what we know or what we should know right now, most people right now are so ill-informed compared to the people in the past, by far, by a long mile. So I can't blame them for doing all that savagery, right? That was their situation. What I can blame is the people that did know better. The ones that did know better and continued to push that psychosis forward. Christians are now bitching and moaning about how persecuted they are, right? All these organizations, save the Christians, oh, save the Christians, oh, the Christians in Syria and Iraq are being persecuted by ISIS, blah, blah, blah. And then you got the Muslims complaining about Islamophobia. Islamophobia? Really? Am I Islamophobic if I say I don't want to worship a... You know, this is the kind of stuff that gets people deplatformed so quickly. So you already know what I was going to say there. I have no tolerance for these ideologies. I don't hate Christians or Muslims. In fact, I have plenty of friends who I deeply care about who are Christians and Muslims. But seeing the toll, especially the Muslims, seeing the toll that the Islamic ideology has on their psyche is tragic. It really is tragic. It is like the brainwashing is just so intrinsic that somebody who is otherwise so logical and compassionate and normal, the moment it gets to religion, the moment it gets to even the topic of blasphemy or something, they're just like, I'll kill them. I'm gonna kill them. I don't know why. I'm just gonna kill them. Is that not a brain virus? Is that, you could call it demonic possession, but I rather call it a brain virus. Because that's what it is, right? Christians, when you tell them, you know, I don't think this makes a lot of sense. You better believe it or you're gonna burn in hell. You're a false teacher. You're spreading false ideology. Ugh. They have this machine of just the sophistry machine. I call it. They just have this, and that's what happens when you indoctrinate people to the extent that they believe the books, these ideologies, are them. It is them. That's why they say these things. I can call them idiotic and brainwashed and rock for brains, and they probably are. But at the same time, I understand how like. I'm just glad, even as much as religious as my parents are, they never really pushed the indoctrination very hard. It was just like a thing we found that, we go to church every Sunday and then we pray, blah, blah, blah. They never really pushed it hard, right? So it wasn't that hard for me to undo the programming there. It really wasn't. Other people, though, it's not easy at all. It isn't easy, and it can even be life-threatening. Such a benevolent and caring and moral ideology that can have people scared for their lives to even question it. You want to talk?
No! Fuck this book. Fuck Allah. Fuck Muhammad. I'ma keep saying I disrespect all religion, not just yours. If I wasn't reading this shit, I'd tear the pages out and wipe my ass with it out that shit.
About cancel culture? To me, blasphemy is the most enduring and ancient example of cancel culture to ever exist. That's why I'm pro-blasphemy no matter what. I can't say I'm religious, but I am definitely pro-blasphemy. I can't completely say I'm irreligious, let me say, but I am 100% pro-blasphemy anywhere, anytime. Desecrate that shit, yes. There's nothing holy about it. It's the opposite of holy. It's putrid. You want to see how humanity got to this stage? Just look at what we've been doing. Simple. You think the sexual revolution was just happened because hippies were like getting high off acid and smoking weed and then they had sex? No. This campaign of sexual repression, ideological repression that these religions have had on people's minds for literally millennia was quickly undone by the creation of nuclear energy. Once you have people constantly living in fear about like being like atomized in a very short amount of time, humans just tend to want to fuck, basically. I do find this current society insufferable because they're now trying to fill the voids that they continue to create themselves. I do believe when these apologists say that there's a God-filled, no, there's what is it? What does they say? There's a God-shaped void in people's hearts. I do believe that's the case. But what was God? What is God exactly? What is God that? How is it taught? How is God taught? How was he taught? How was he taught that people like us are able to undo it and see it for exactly what it is? Because you can say it's a comforting idea to have somebody watching you at all times, no matter what, and they care about your well-being, and you know they're gonna be there after you die, and you'll be with them forever and ever. That's when you're being good, though. when you're not being good, that's when life becomes a test. And that test could be anything ranging from being mentally, physically, emotionally, sexually abused as a child or as an adult or as a teenager, having people around you die in gruesome and just freak accidents, or just uh, really gruesome circumstances, have you living in just abject poverty and having to do all kinds of underhanded acts just to be able to get food, being born with severe genetic disorders that basically turn into, your best case scenario is becoming motivation porn, right? Motivation porn for like able-bodied natalists, for them to keep somehow feeling good about what they're doing, or I don't even know. I'm gonna make another video. I've been planning to make a video about that because it's quite nauseating. So what exactly, you know, I believe that this test, the teacher who wrote this test needs an appraisal. They need an appraisal. They literally need to be put into a boardroom with like all the people who hired that teacher or brought them to the school and ask them, why the fuck are your students failing this badly? What kind of test are you writing for them? Like, it's like a high school high school chemistry teacher that's giving them like PhD level chemistry questions to answer, and like everybody, like naturally, like 99% of people are just going to fail that. And you know, this may be a tangent, but personally, and especially recently, I personally believe no matter what test this is, to me, the best result, to me, the best case scenario is death. The best case scenario for me is death. Because if I find out that it isn't actually death, I am going to be cosmic Kratos Karen. I'm going to find the piece of shit that finds so much enjoyment from this like, it's psychosis, right? Generational psychosis. I'm going to break his skull into 5 different pieces and then glue it back together and drink stardust out of his fucking skull. I truly mean that. I think, to me, I have passed that test with flying colors. That to me is the meaning of this place. Drink stardust out of the skull of the cosmic teacher. You know, what else is the best case scenario, really? This is why I understand fearing dying. I fear dying too. That's just biological. Who wants to actually go through the process of dying? But death itself is a best case scenario for me. Like, sincerely. Oh, but yeah. Yeah, that was just my, like, I've been waiting to do that rant because I really have zero tolerance for, have your ideology, believe it. If it's what gets you through your day, fine. But the moment you try and come here and tell me that I should adhere to it, you're going to embarrass yourself. And, I don't encourage people to harass one another online. I will never do that. But if you're ever debating somebody online, especially a religious person, that's one of the best places to sharpen your skills in debating, because you can actually link to sources. You can actually, Research what exactly you're arguing about right there, and then act like you know more than what you actually do, so that when you actually meet them in real life, you've been prepared. I'm all for online arguments though, like, debates, like actually like debating people in comment sections. A lot of people see it as frivolous. I see it as fun. I literally see it as so much fun because you just get used to arguing with people, debating people, and winning those debates, right? Or maybe I'm just an online troll. That too. That could also be the case.